Have you ever wondered why some people seem to wake up every morning feeling stiff, tired, and sore, even though they haven't injured themselves? Perhaps you've blamed getting older. Perhaps you've blamed the weather. Perhaps you've simply accepted that aches and pains are now a normal part of life. But what if your body has been trying to tell you something all along? Today, doctors and scientists believe that one hidden factor may contribute to many of the health problems people struggle with later in life. It's called chronic inflammation. Now, inflammation itself isn't the enemy. In fact, it's one of God's remarkable designs. When you cut your finger, inflammation helps begin the healing process. When bacteria enter your body, inflammation helps your immune system fight back. Without inflammation, we couldn't survive. The problem begins when that emergency response never fully switches off. Instead of protecting us for a few days, it continues quietly for months, or even years. Researchers now believe chronic inflammation may play a role in heart disease, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, fatty liver disease, kidney disease, memory decline, and many other conditions that become increasingly common with age. The difficult part is that you usually can't feel it. There isn't always pain. There isn't always swelling. Much of the damage happens silently, long before symptoms appear. Now here's something fascinating. Thousands of years before anyone understood immune cells, before microscopes, before laboratory blood tests, the people of the Bible built much of their daily diet around simple foods that modern researchers now recognize as naturally rich in anti-inflammatory nutrients. Was that a coincidence? Perhaps. Or perhaps God's provision has always been wiser than we've realized. Now, let's be clear. No single food can eliminate chronic inflammation overnight. No meal replaces medical treatment. And if you're living with an autoimmune disease or another inflammatory condition, you should always continue working with your healthcare provider. But choosing foods that naturally support the body's own healing systems may be one of the simplest investments you can make in your long-term health. Let's begin with one of the most treasured foods in all of Scripture. Food number 1, extra virgin olive oil. There are more than 100 references to olives and olive oil throughout the Bible. It fueled the lamps inside the temple. It anointed kings. It soothed wounds. It seasoned meals. The olive tree became a symbol of peace, endurance, and God's blessing. Ancient families depended on olive oil every single day. They didn't know anything about polyphenols. They didn't understand oxidative stress. Yet somehow, one of the healthiest fats known to modern science became one of the most important foods in biblical history. Extra virgin olive oil is rich in monounsaturated fats and a remarkable collection of plant compounds called polyphenols. One of these compounds, oleocanthal, has attracted enormous scientific attention. Researchers discovered that oleocanthal behaves in surprisingly similar ways to certain anti-inflammatory medications by influencing pathways involved in inflammation. The effect isn't nearly as strong as medicine. But it's a fascinating example of how nature supports the body. Chronic inflammation often damages blood vessels long before symptoms appear. The healthy fats and antioxidants in olive oil help protect those vessels while supporting heart health and healthier metabolism. Studies of Mediterranean populations consistently show lower rates of inflammatory diseases among people whose diets regularly include extra virgin olive oil. Notice something important. Olive oil isn't beneficial because it's added to everything. It's beneficial when it replaces less healthy fats. Substitution, not addition. That principle appears again and again throughout healthy eating. Food number 2, garlic. When the Israelites wandered through the wilderness, they remembered many foods they had enjoyed in Egypt. Among them was garlic. That small detail tells us garlic wasn't simply a spice. It was a regular part of everyday meals. For thousands of years, civilizations across the world have used garlic not only for flavor, but also because they believed it promoted health. Today, researchers understand much more about why. When fresh garlic is crushed, it produces a sulfur compound called allicin. Allicin has been studied for its antioxidant, antimicrobial, and anti-inflammatory properties. Scientists believe it helps reduce the production of inflammatory compounds while supporting healthy blood vessels. Garlic has also been associated with healthier cholesterol levels and blood pressure in numerous clinical studies. Because chronic inflammation and cardiovascular disease are so closely connected, supporting one often benefits the other. One practical tip can significantly increase garlic's nutritional value. After chopping or crushing fresh garlic, allow it to rest for about 10 minutes before cooking. This gives the enzyme responsible for producing allicin enough time to complete its work. Sometimes, one small habit makes a surprisingly large difference. Food number 3, fish. Several of the Bible's most memorable meals included fish. Jesus multiplied fish to feed thousands. After his resurrection, he ate broiled fish with his disciples. Later, he prepared breakfast beside the Sea of Galilee. Fish wasn't considered unusual. It was everyday nourishment. Modern nutrition science continues to recommend fish for one major reason: omega-3 fatty acids. Unlike many fats common in highly processed foods, omega-3s help regulate the body's inflammatory response. Researchers have repeatedly found that people who regularly eat fatty fish, such as salmon, sardines, and mackerel, often show lower levels of inflammatory markers in their blood. These healthy fats also support brain health, heart health, healthy joints, and healthy blood vessels. Fish offers another important benefit: high-quality protein. Protein supports muscle maintenance, tissue repair, and recovery throughout the body. When inflammation causes damage, the body depends on adequate protein to rebuild healthy tissue. Choosing grilled or baked fish several times each week, instead of heavily processed meats, is one simple way many people improve the overall quality of their diet. Perhaps that's one reason fish appears so naturally throughout the pages of Scripture. Simple food, rich nourishment, quietly supporting health long before anyone understood the science behind it. Food number 4, lentils. There is perhaps no bowl of food more famous in the Bible than the lentil stew Esau traded his birthright to receive. At first, that decision almost seems impossible to understand. How could someone exchange something so valuable for a simple meal? But in the ancient world, lentils were far more than ordinary food. They were dependable, affordable, easy to store, rich in nourishment. Families relied on them through difficult seasons because they provided lasting energy and remarkable nutrition. Today, modern science helps explain why. Lentils combine two nutrients that work beautifully together: protein and fiber. Protein supports the repair and maintenance of body tissues. Fiber slows digestion and helps feed the beneficial bacteria living in the gut. That connection matters more than many people realize. Researchers now believe that chronic inflammation often begins long before symptoms appear, and one important factor is the health of the gut microbiome. The trillions of bacteria living inside our digestive system constantly interact with the immune system. When they're well nourished, they produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. These compounds help strengthen the intestinal barrier and support a balanced inflammatory response. Simply put, a healthier gut often leads to a healthier immune system. Lentils are also naturally rich in folate, magnesium, potassium, and numerous plant polyphenols. Together, these nutrients help support healthy blood vessels while reducing oxidative stress throughout the body. It's remarkable that one of the oldest foods mentioned in Scripture continues to be recommended by nutrition experts today. Sometimes the most powerful foods aren't expensive at all. They're the foods generations before us quietly depended upon every single day. Food number 5, barley. Imagine walking through the fields of Bethlehem during the days of Ruth. The harvest is underway. Workers gather grain beneath the hot Middle Eastern sun. Among those fields grows one of the oldest cultivated grains in history, barley. It was the grain of ordinary people, reliable, hardy, able to grow where other crops struggled. Even the loaves used by Jesus to feed the 5,000 were barley loaves. It was humble food. Yet humble foods often carry extraordinary value. Modern researchers have become increasingly interested in barley because of a particular type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. Unlike many carbohydrates that digest quickly, beta-glucan absorbs water and forms a thick gel inside the digestive tract. This slows digestion, helping blood sugar remain steadier after meals. But that's only part of the story. Beta-glucan also becomes food for beneficial gut bacteria. As those bacteria ferment the fiber, they produce natural compounds that help regulate inflammation throughout the body. Scientists have observed improvements in cholesterol, insulin sensitivity, and several markers of metabolic health among people who regularly consume beta-glucan-rich foods. Another advantage of barley is its impressive mineral content. It provides selenium, magnesium, phosphorus, and B vitamins that support energy production and healthy cellular function. Inflammation often increases when the body is under constant metabolic stress. Whole grains like barley help create a steadier internal environment rather than the repeated spikes and crashes caused by highly refined carbohydrates. Perhaps that's one reason the ordinary bread of biblical times looked very different from much of the ultra-processed bread lining supermarket shelves today. God's provision was simple, whole, minimally processed, exactly the kind of nourishment the body continues to recognize. Food number 6, walnuts. The Song of Solomon speaks of a beautiful garden filled with nut trees. Among them were walnuts, a food treasured throughout the ancient Near East for both nourishment and long-term storage. Unlike fresh produce that spoiled quickly, walnuts could sustain families through changing seasons. Today, they're still one of the most nutrient-dense foods available. What makes walnuts unique is their abundance of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. These healthy fats help support the body's natural ability to regulate inflammation. While they are not identical to the omega-3s found in fish, they still contribute to a healthier inflammatory balance when eaten regularly. Walnuts are also packed with antioxidants. In fact, among commonly eaten nuts, walnuts rank among the highest in antioxidant activity. That matters because oxidative stress and chronic inflammation often work together. One damages cells, the other prolongs the damage. Reducing both helps create a healthier internal environment. Researchers have also found that walnuts may improve the diversity of beneficial gut bacteria. Once again, we see the same pattern. Healthy foods don't usually work through one single pathway. They nourish multiple systems simultaneously: heart health, brain health, blood vessels, the immune system, even sleep. Walnuts naturally contain small amounts of melatonin, the hormone involved in regulating healthy sleep cycles. That connection is more important than it may seem. Poor sleep has repeatedly been linked with higher levels of inflammatory markers throughout the body. Sometimes reducing inflammation isn't only about what you eat. It's also about giving the body enough rest to repair itself. A small handful of walnuts each day is usually enough to enjoy their benefits. As with so many biblical foods, moderation, not excess, is the principle. God's provision invites gratitude, not overindulgence. And perhaps that's one of the greatest health lessons Scripture quietly teaches again and again. Food number 7. Pomegranates. When Moses described the richness of the Promised Land, one fruit appeared again and again as a symbol of God's abundance: the pomegranate. Its image was embroidered onto the robe of Israel's high priest. It decorated the great pillars of Solomon's temple. To the people of ancient Israel, the pomegranate represented fruitfulness, blessing, and life. If you've ever opened a ripe pomegranate, it's easy to understand why. Hundreds of bright red seeds are packed inside a single fruit. To ancient eyes, it looked like overflowing abundance. To modern scientists, it looks like something equally remarkable: an extraordinary source of antioxidants. Pomegranates contain powerful plant compounds known as polyphenols, including punicolagens and anthocyanins. These compounds help protect the body's cells from oxidative stress. Now remember something important. Oxidative stress and chronic inflammation are closely connected. One often fuels the other. As inflammation continues, more oxidative damage occurs. As oxidative damage increases, inflammation often becomes worse. Breaking that cycle is one reason researchers are so interested in antioxidant-rich foods. Several studies suggest that regular pomegranate consumption may support healthier blood vessels and improve markers of inflammation. Other research has explored its role in supporting heart health and healthy blood pressure. That's significant because inflammation doesn't affect just one organ. It influences the entire cardiovascular system. Healthy blood vessels mean healthier circulation. Healthier circulation means oxygen, and nutrients can reach tissues more efficiently. One practical lesson is simple: choose the whole fruit. The juicy seeds contain natural fiber together with antioxidants. Many commercial juices remove much of that fiber while concentrating natural sugars. Whole foods continue to prove themselves to be one of God's most elegant designs. Simple, complete, balanced. Food number 8, raw honey. This final food surprises many people. After all, honey is sweet. How could something sweet possibly belong on a list of foods that help reduce inflammation? The answer begins with understanding the difference between raw honey and refined sugar. Throughout Scripture, honey was considered one of God's blessings. The Promised Land was described as a land flowing with milk and honey. Jonathan tasted wild honey during battle and immediately felt renewed. John the Baptist survived in the wilderness on locusts and wild honey. Honey wasn't an everyday luxury. It was a treasured gift from creation. Unlike refined white sugar, raw honey still contains small amounts of enzymes, antioxidants, flavonoids, and other natural compounds produced by bees. Researchers have studied these compounds because of their antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. Some laboratory studies suggest that raw honey may help reduce oxidative stress and support the body's natural healing processes. It has even been used medically in certain wound care settings because of its unique antibacterial characteristics. But here's where wisdom becomes essential. Raw honey is still a source of sugar. It is not a health food to eat without limits. Its greatest value comes when it replaces highly refined sweeteners, not when it's added on top of an already sugary diet. That principle reflects something we've seen throughout this entire video. God's foods don't encourage excess. They encourage replacement. Replace processed fats with olive oil. Replace refined carbohydrates with barley and lentils. Replace processed snacks with walnuts. Replace refined sugar with small amounts of raw honey. Little by little, the overall quality of the diet improves, and the body responds, one thoughtful choice at a time. Final thoughts. So what have we discovered today? Extra virgin olive oil helps support a healthy inflammatory response through its remarkable polyphenols and healthy fats. Garlic provides natural compounds that support both cardiovascular health and the immune system. Fish supplies omega-3 fatty acids that help regulate inflammation throughout the body. Lentils nourish the gut while providing satisfying protein and fiber. Barley offers beta-glucan, one of nature's most impressive soluble fibers. Walnuts combine healthy fats with antioxidants and nutrients that support multiple body systems. Pomegranates deliver extraordinary antioxidant protection. And raw honey reminds us that even sweetness can have a rightful place when enjoyed wisely and in moderation. Notice something remarkable. Not one of these foods is exotic. Not one requires a special supplement company. Not one costs a fortune. They are ordinary foods. Foods that families have shared around tables for thousands of years. Foods that God placed within His creation long before modern nutrition science existed. Does that mean these foods eliminate inflammation overnight? No. The human body rarely changes that quickly. Chronic inflammation usually develops over years. Reducing it often requires the same kind of patience. Healthy meals, regular movement, good sleep, managing stress, maintaining healthy relationships, trusting God through difficult seasons. All of these influence inflammation in ways scientists continue to uncover. Perhaps one of the greatest lessons hidden throughout Scripture is this: God rarely works through shortcuts. He often works through faithful consistency. The farmer plants, the rain falls, the harvest comes in its season. Health follows a similar pattern. One healthy breakfast, one evening walk, one night of restful sleep, one wise decision repeated again tomorrow. Over time, those ordinary choices become an extraordinary life. So the next time you drizzle olive oil over your vegetables, enjoy a bowl of lentil soup, slice an apple, or sprinkle fresh pomegranate seeds onto your salad. Remember that you're participating in a pattern of nourishment that stretches back thousands of years. A pattern that reminds us that God's provision has always been both practical and generous. Thank you so much for watching. May the Lord bless you with wisdom to care for your body, strength to build healthy habits, and peace as you continue walking faithfully each day. We'll see you again in the next video.